Hi there, Emerson Eagles. Welcome to Emerson Virtual Spirit Week. You might already know, but this week we are celebrating Spirit Week even though we aren't together. And Monday, which is today, is Pajama Day. So I'm wearing my pajamas and I look forward to seeing pictures of all you guys in your PJs posted on Class Dojo for the rest of the week, as well as all the other Spirit Days. So make sure that you check Class Dojo so you know what all of our Spirit Days are this week. Okay, so today is our math lesson. This week we're going to be working on comparing three-digit numbers. Before we start with comparing three-digit numbers, let's just do a quick mood meter check-in. So take a look at the mood meter. Remember that blue is feelings like sad, lonely, disappointed, or bored. Red is angry, frustrated, worried, anxious, or annoyed. Yellow might be feelings like excited, playful, cheerful, or surprised. And green could be feelings like calm, relaxed, happy, cozy, or safe. So take a look at the mood meter and think about where you are this morning. And once you've done your mood meter check-in, just think about how you can make sure that you're your best self while you're learning and how you can put yourself in a good space to be learning. And get yourself hopefully down into the green if you're not there already. Okay, so like I said, this week we're going to be working on comparing three-digit numbers. So our learning goal for this week for math is I can compare three-digit numbers. When we're working with comparing, we use symbols like greater than, less than, and equal to. And when we compare numbers, we want to look at two different numbers and decide which one is greater or bigger, and which one is smaller or less than. Okay, so let's look at this first example that I put up. This example says, which number is greater, 738 or 539? Now you might already be able to do that in your head and you might already know which one is greater, which one is bigger. But if you're not sure, one tool that you can use is drawing a small hundreds chart. Okay, you're going to label it hundreds, tens, and ones. And on your hundreds chart, you're going to put in the numbers that we have in our problem. Let's get it a little closer so you can see. Okay, so I put 738 and 539 because those are the two numbers in our problem. The first thing I always want to do when I'm working with a greater than, less than problem is look at the hundreds place. So I'm going to look at the hundreds place first. I'm just going to compare the hundreds place. I can see that 738 has a 7 in the hundreds place, and 539 has a 5 in the hundreds place. Which one of those two numbers is bigger? If you said that 7 is bigger, you're right. That means that 738 is greater than 539. Because I already figured it out with the hundreds place, I don't need to keep going and looking at the other places right now. Okay, so if I were writing that down, I would say 738 is greater than 539. If I was writing it using words, I would say the same thing. 738 is greater than 539. Okay, let's do another example. So, sometimes you might get numbers that have the same thing in the hundreds place. And I'm going to show you what you do when you have that kind of a problem. So here we have 328 and 384. I'm going to put both of these numbers onto my hundreds chart just to help me solve it a little easier. So 328, 300s, 2 tens, 8 ones, and 384. 300s, 8 tens, 4 ones. Now, just like last time, I'm going to look at the hundreds place first. Looking at the hundreds place, I see they're the same. So I can't figure out which one is greater just by looking in the hundreds place. I'm going to go over to the tens place next. Okay, I look here in the tens place. I have a 2 and an 8. Okay, 2 tens or 8 tens. Which one of those do you think is bigger or greater? If you said that 8 tens is greater than 2 tens, I totally agree. 8 tens is bigger than 2 tens. So that tells me that 384 is greater than 328. So I'm going to write that like this. 384 is greater than 328. Okay, let's try one more problem. Okay, so my two numbers this time are going to be 532 and 537. I need to figure out which one of these is greater than the other. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing just to help me make sure that I know exactly what number is in each place. I'm going to write it on my hundreds chart. I'm going to say 532 and 537. Okay, just like the last couple of times, we're going to look at the hundreds place first. I'm comparing the hundreds place. I can see that the two numbers in the hundreds place are the same. So that's not going to help me decide which one is bigger because they're both the same. So I'm going to go to the tens place. I see that both of those numbers are the same too, 3 and 3. I have 3 tens and 3 tens. 3 tens is the same as 3 tens. So that's not going to help me decide which one of these numbers is bigger or greater than. Okay, so I'm going to go to the ones place instead. So if it's the same in the hundreds, the same in the tens, we got to look in the ones place. Over here in the ones place, I see that I have 2 ones and 7 ones. Which one is bigger? If you said that 7 ones is bigger, I agree. So that means that 537 is greater than 532. Okay, you also might have a problem that asks you to flip those around, and the way that we would write that, if it asks you which one is the least or which one is the smallest, you would write it the other way. You would say 532 is less than 537. Okay. One other thing I'm going to show you is if you are working on your homework this week, which will be in your packets that you received in the mail, it might ask you to come up with numbers on your own. Just like we did last week, something you can do to come up with those numbers is to use some cards or maybe even a dice to come up with your numbers. So you might just use a deck of playing cards if you have those at home to come up with some numbers. When you do that, you're going to make sure that you're only using the number cards and you're not using the 10. So only you could use the ace as a 1, so the ace through 9 to come up with your 3-digit numbers, okay? You could also use a dice and roll a dice 3 times to come up with some numbers. So I'm going to try that right now. Okay, so I'm just going to pick cards out of this deck without looking at them just to come up with some number cards. Okay, so my first number I picked was 4. So I know for this one I'm going to have something with a 4. Next card I picked is a 9. And then I'm going to pick another random card, and it's an ace, and I'm going to call that my 1 because there aren't any 1s in the deck of cards. So I have 491. Now I'm going to find my second number to see what I'm comparing it to. I have a 6. Another ace, so that's another 1. And an 8. Okay, I'm going to figure out which one of these numbers is greater than the other. So I have 491 and 618. Just for myself, I'm going to put this in the hundreds chart. If you don't feel like you need to put it in the hundreds chart, you don't have to, but that's what I'm going to practice doing right now. So I have 491, which is 4 hundreds, 9 tens, 1 1. And I have 618, which is 6 hundreds, 1 10, and 8 ones. So just like we practiced, first I'm going to look in the hundreds place. When I look in the hundreds place, I see 400s and 600s. What is greater, 400s or 600s? If you said that 600s is greater, I completely agree. So I'm going to write 618. Remember, I don't need to keep going because I've already decided that the hundreds place, the numbers are different, so I can figure out which one is greater just by looking at the hundreds place, okay? So 618 is greater than 491. Remember, I could also write that like this. I'll write it on the side like this. I could also write 491 is less than 618. Okay? So this week, when you do your work that is in your packet that you got from the school, remember, everybody should have gotten a packet in the mail that's in a big envelope like this, okay? And your packet will have some work. Make sure that you look at our page on the Emerson website to see what homework pages you're doing this week to practice these skills. Make sure you're doing your homework and send a picture of it to your teacher so that we can see the awesome work that you're doing. Okay. Also, don't forget, like I said, this week is Emerson Spirit Week, so you can be participating in Spirit Week even though we're far apart. Take pictures of yourself or your family participating in Spirit Week and send it to your teacher, and we will post them on Class Dojo so we can share and be in our Emerson community even though we're far apart. All right, second graders, good luck working on your math this week, and I'll see you